What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday, July 24th. DK Show up on the air on your dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. Got the app, download it, take it on the go. Your smart devices, video streams also up and rolling this morning on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, so you can join in over there as well. But hey, appreciate you making us a part of your start on this Making the Turn Wednesday. What do we got on the good old game plan for us this morning? A little bit of late start, rain delay last night in Chicago at Wrigley Field, but they got the game in. And it was a tight one, but the Brewers squeaking it out, a 1-0 victory last night for the Crew, thanks to Bryce Terang's go-ahead RBI single in the eighth inning. Low scoring, tight game last night, but nonetheless, the Brewers pick up the win. Also, season series, clinching the season series against the Cubbies. Got that over there too. So how about that? Not too shabby. They'll try to win another series. They'll try to win another series later this afternoon with first pitch coming at you at about 1:20. So Brewers again last night. Colin Ray getting the start for the Crew. No decision for him, but he went 5 innings, striking out 8, 4 hits. So let's call that a solid performance from Colin Ray's first start post All-Star break there. I mean, solid performance all around from Ray and the bullpen that came in, holding it out, shutting out the Cubbies. Brewers kind of, again, maybe their youth showing up last night. Apparently Pat Murphy in his session with some of the media members and such, or when the media was talking to some of the players and that, Pat Murphy kind of interrupted everything and trying to teach and making it a teaching moment with his younger players and that about hitting and such and some improvements and whatnot, and kind of goes back to what Pat said after the first game of where their youth showed. Yeah, this was from Kurt Hogg late last night. Pat Murphy was visibly frustrated with some of the bunting and base running decisions tonight. You don't see the next part often, but Murphy then popped into the clubhouse and had a brief chat with his young hitters about it while reporters were still there for availability. So always teaching, it seems like, when it comes to Pat Murphy. So Brewers, as we mentioned, will try to get the series win. They're going to be going up against Justin Steele on the mound, but the Brewers may have to do it without Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich leaving the game early due to a back injury. Pat Murphy did sound like it could be an IL stint with Christian Yelich. So, as we know, earlier this year, Yelly missed some time due to some back issues, and it looked like he was doing well before the All-Star break, right? I mean, we even talked about it. He's stealing bases, he's running around, he looks good in that, but these couple games he was DHing in that, but now he's probably going to miss some time. Which is a big loss for this offense to not have him in that lineup. So, but Yelich serving as a DH for the 7th straight game, even dating back before the All-Star break. So, hopefully it won't be too long. But Pat Murphy didn't sound too optimistic with it. But Gary Sanchez expected to be back, so you got another bats going up. That should help going up against left-handed pitching and such. So, but less than a week away now from the trade deadline, and there was an interesting article. I don't know if anybody else got a chance to read it here, but there was an interesting article, and I kind of want to throw this out as a question or a scenario. If this were to play out for the Brewers, But this was from MLB.com last night. The latest rumors on Screwball plus the Dodgers and some other stuff here. But you scroll to the bottom of this piece. Now again, I get it. It's rumors. It's rumblings and all that. But what the section is called buy or sell. Why not both? Says, according to executives around the league, as many as 8 teams could look to toe the line between now and next Tuesday, doing a bit of buying and a bit of selling in an effort to tweak their rosters for 2024 while adding controllable talent for 2025 and beyond. Quote, the most interesting thing is how many teams appear willing to both buy and sell, a National League executive said. That's not usually the case. Some teams may have to move money to add money, in addition to the fact that there are so many teams hovering around playoff contention. Among the teams that may look to thread the buy sell needle include the Rays, the Reds, the Guardians, the Mets, the Giants, Cubs, Diamondbacks, and your Brewers. Quote, as far as the industry goes, it might even be a bigger story than any player who actually gets moved, the executive said. The conversations are unlike any we have had in the past that I can recall. So is it possible? Is it possible the Brewers could be both buyers and sellers toeing that line by the deadline? And, when I read that last night, the first person that came to my mind was Willie, like Willie Adames. I mean, because that few weeks ago, a month ago or so, it was still talked about, could Willie Adames, even with the Brewers in first place, be a trade candidate, be on the move? And what would that reaction be like? And I'm like, oh, now again, I get it. It's a rumor, it's a rumbling, it's a report, speculation sort of thing. But when you hear that, Brewers fans, when you hear something like that where your team could be both a buyer and a seller, and you're in first place, 5 games up against the Cardinals, what's your thoughts on that? What's going through your mind, and who do you think that potentially could be, if in terms of like who could be the players that the Brewers would sell for that more controllable talent, for, looking ahead to 2025 and beyond? The one thing that would make me nervous about Willie Adames, there's a couple of things that would make me nervous about moving on from Willie Adames, is obviously he's one of the team leaders of this group. But okay, you put Ortiz then over at short. But one, you're losing some power, right? You're losing your cleanup hitter essentially. That's where he's been the majority part of the season. So you're losing that power, especially now with Christian Yelich going to be missing some time. So maybe that kind of changes things here a little bit with Yelich missing time. Do you really want to going to be moving on from Willie Adames? But also, okay, if you move Ortiz over to short, who's the guy at third? Is it Tyler Black? Do you move him up at a permanent basis and he plays third? Is that a way to get him, on your everyday roster? I mean, yes, you have the Sal Frelick talk, or the Sal Frelick experiment from spring training where he played, over there, and that's where maybe it allows you to get Perkins and Cheerio and Garrett Mitchell all in the outfield together now too with Yelly out there. But I don't know. Like, is there a pitcher? I know there was some people thought, okay, if Devin Williams comes back, but Devin Williams hasn't pitched yet, so I don't. Who else do you think that potentially could be? Like, that was the first name that came to my mind. But I guess in a general sense too, what are your thoughts when you hear that, Brewers fans, that your team? I think a lot of us were like, okay, they're gonna be buyers. They're gonna add some pitching. But could they toe that line of like buying and selling, as that article pointed out? Think about it for a little bit and let me know. Hit me up with a text. All right. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Packers training camp continuing yesterday and such, but no vote or no word yet on a Jordan Love contract. No words yet, no rumors yet, and all that. So still kind of a wait and see approach to see if it's going to get done. Hopefully this week. I think we'd all like it to get done sooner rather than later. Both sides would like to get it done sooner rather than later. So we're not, talking about it or it's overshadowed or anything like that. But we'll go over some of the updates from camp yesterday, including Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary, a guy that I think, he speaking of contracts, got a big deal last year. Right, got a nice contract. Started off the season pretty well. Maybe kind of got a little quiet and such in the middle part towards the end there. But he was a dude that really kind of stood out from practice yesterday, and he talked a little bit with the media. And he was asked about, the biggest difference for him in Jeff Hafley's defense, and he kind of echoed a similar thing to what a lot of other players have been saying. But he said, quote, hand in the dirt and not dropping back into coverage. He also went on to say, I feel more explosive coming out of a 3-point stance. Sometimes when you're in a 2-point stance, you can create more false steps. And with that hand in the dirt, those false steps are taken away. Remember now, Rashawn Gary, even with that contract, he's never had a double-digit sack season. He's still young and such. But he was a dude that he apparently he got 3 sacks. And I know it's practice, but 3 sacks in a 4-play stretch during 11-on-11s. So, I mean, we've talked about different players within this team, offensively and even, defensively and, Kenny Clark and that. But, I mean, is Rashawn Gary poised to almost have I don't know if I want to use the phrase breakout season. I mean, because the dude's I think we can, right? I think it's fair to say breakout season, even though he's got a nice deal out there. But you hear him talk about, the style defense. It relates to Preston Smith, who just a few weeks ago as well said, going after the quarterback, able to rush after the quarterback and echoing a lot of the same stuff that Rashawn Gary said about not going into coverage and that defensive line being more aggressive. I mean, it's probably too. It's just like, maybe makes even Packers fans a little frustrated to a point where like, why did it take so long for us to do this, to move on and get to this style of defense, really? But what are your predictions, expectations for a guy like Rashawn Gary? When you factor in 4-3 defense, a guy that is probably going to focus more on rushing the quarterback and all that. And I wonder too, when he talks about the false steps quote, I mean, the one big thing from Rashawn Gary, I think we all remember, or that we all know when he was blitzing, is that sometimes would he over pursue a little bit and allow a quarterback to step up, sidestep, or maybe even, a running play takes advantage of that. But how big of we talk about like Devontae Wyatt having a breakout year. We talk about, hey, Kenny Clark being well positioned for this defense to really have a standout year. What about Rashawn Gary, though? What about Rashawn Gary? So I want to talk a little Rashawn Gary here this morning, too. So we're going to talk a little Badgers. It was Big Ten Media Day for football. So Luke Fickell and such making the rounds and chatting with the media yesterday in Indy. So we'll talk some Badger football. We got a business of sports coming at you, too. I wanted to announce the Sweet 16 here for our bracket challenge. And there's only a I think only a couple minutes left on Twitter. It's too close to call right now. Okay, Twitter's going to shut down here, but I'll keep it open for about 20 minutes on the Facebook group page. Too close to call right now for Tremont and William Henderson. William Henderson leading the Facebook vote, but Tremont leading the Twitter vote right now. So it's way too close to call. If you want, go to our Facebook page and make sure you go vote on that one too. So then we'll finally have the Sweet 16 lined up. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning. So let's talk a little Brewers. What are your thoughts on when you hear that report, that rumor that the Brewers could be both buyers and sellers? Who's the player or players that kind of come to your mind that maybe the Brewers would potentially move on from? What do you think about that for a team that's in first place? Do you what's kind of going through your mind? Does it make you a little bit nervous about being a buyer and a seller at this point? So we'll hit that up, and then we'll talk a little Rashawn Gary with maybe should we set the bar pretty high for him this year, even though it's a new defense? Should we set that bar at a double-digit sack season for Rashawn Gary? You think that's fair? All right, what do you think? Join me on the convo on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line with some texts and or on the video stream over there as well. So let's get things going here this morning. First break, then we got the leadoff. We'll hit up both Brewers and Packers. All that fun stuff. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. When it comes to updating your flooring game, look no further than Wisconsin's premier flooring store right here in Eau Claire. That's Carpet City Flooring Center here in Eau Claire. Whether it's tile, new carpet, luxury vinyl planks, maybe you want to even update the shower too. You got shower tiles over there. But Carpet City Flooring Center is with you from the first step all the way to the finish line. Just give them a visit at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. If you're not even sure where to start, where to begin, what floor would look great in your space, or you just want some quotes or some ideas, some input, just stop on by. Incredibly friendly people over there. It's like a big old family at Carpet City Flooring Center. So check them out. Go say hi. Go talk to them, and they'll help you out and figure everything out. What would work great in your home, what would work great in your space, and what would work within your budget as well. So whether you're remodeling or maybe it's time to update that flooring in your workspace, whatever the case may be, go check out our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center, again located at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. Carpet City Flooring Center also partners with the Mobile Man Cave. We were out and about yesterday with it, doing some podcast recording and such. So that new episode of the Man Cave podcast will be up a little bit later on here this morning. Also, Carpet City Flooring Center, partners of the Kasper Classic. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning on the lead off. We'll lead it off with a little Brew Crew chat here. The Brewers picking up a 1-0 victory last night. It was a late start thanks to the rain, and but the Brewers able to get it done. 1-0 victory. Finally, Bryce Serang in the 8th inning getting that RBI single, and the Brewers holding it down after that, picking up the win, securing a season series win against the Cubbies. They'll try to win another series though with their final game this afternoon, but Brewers 7-5 overall against the Cubs this year. So, but I'd like to win another series, right? Especially down in Wrigley. Kind of weird though to say that we're not going to be going up against the Cubbies for the rest of the year. I know it's the end of July here, but you look at the schedule, like, yeah. In fact, we know we got Cincinnati and St. Louis a couple times, and then Pittsburgh at the end of September. Otherwise, that's it for division teams already. Man. All right. How about that? Kind of nuts. Again, kind of some teaching moments from Pat Murphy, it sounds like, yesterday. I know I mentioned this beforehand here, but Adam McCulvey, who covers the Brewers, said this was a tweet. It's not every single night the manager comes right into the middle of the clubhouse after a win and delivers stern instruction to a group of young hitters. But tonight was one of those nights for Pat Murphy. Quote, "This would really have hurt to lose," he said. Always teaching. And I think this kind of goes back to maybe a little bit of his old school mindset of him being a college manager for for the longest time, big part of his career and such. Always teaching, always, we talk about that high standard that it seems like Pat Murphy has installed with his team. That doesn't matter about the inexperience for some of these players, doesn't matter about how young they are. He has this high standard. We talked about it last week when apparently, it was that leadership council meeting and with certain players and Pat Murphy and he talked about it, saying there was some stuff that I saw that I didn't like. And, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. He said, maybe I shouldn't be, too stern about it, but that's where I'm at right now. And he kind of wanted to call it out. And again, here last night, even with the win, with the 1-0 win and in front of media members, going out there, still teaching, always teaching, trying to get better. And maybe there's a little bit of a sense of urgency because the team's in first place and trying to remain in first place and not allowing the team to get complacent, not wanting the team to get into a tough stretch here. Post All-Star break, maybe trying to get the team so that they, get a little bit more fired up, get back into that groove of things. trying to knock off some of the rust a little bit, but shouldn't be a big surprise to see that. Knowing what we've gotten to know from Pat Murphy mostly this year, to find out he was going out there in the clubhouse in front of the media and still with a stern instruction to those young hitters out there. So it was a rough night for the Brewers offense again, but got to give credit to that pitching staff for keeping the crew in the game. Colin Ray, Hudson, Figueroa, Koenig, McGill, all combining for a 7-hit shutout and a 1-0 win. Colin Ray, 8 strikeouts for him last night. His first start post All-Star break. He continues right now. He's continuing his impressive season thus far for the Brewers. Brewers again will try to win this series. 1:20 first pitch for the crew. Off day tomorrow before the Brewers head back to Milwaukee, where they will be taking on the Marlins for a weekend series, 3-game weekend series against the Marlins. Now we are officially, though, under a week away from the trading deadline. And each day that goes by, there's, going to be maybe some anxiety, maybe more so from the fans and such. Maybe from the teams too, like, hey, we got to try to get some deals done. And, those teams that may be sellers, maybe trying to hold on to the last minute here, trying to get a little bit more in return. Is the price a little bit high there and such? Couple of thoughts on rumors, reports, rumblings, opinions on what the Brewers should do or what they're going to do at the trade deadline. First one up, MLB.com. 9 clubs that should be all in at the trade deadline. Brewers are on this list. They come in at number 7. And as they said, what we think should happen and what actually happens are often two very different things. The 08 CC Sabathia swap notwithstanding, the Brewers aren't ones to make an over-the-top acquisition and are already selling the pending returns of DL Hall and Devin Williams as their biggest impact moves of the second half. Interesting that they threw in DL Hall into that. Who they could land, they say. Any of the starting pitchers mentioned so far in the previous article make you feel better about the October outlook for a club that is reliant on Freddie Peralta, Colin Ray, and Tobias Myers, and recently acquired Aaron Savali. Who they would have to give up. An impact trade might require the Brewers to deal from their depth of young major league outfielders. That includes Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, and Blake Perkins, something the front office is loath to do. And there was this other report that was out there that the Brewers, that some executives are saying that this could be a trade deadline. Again, this was a report from MLB.com. This could be a trade deadline where we're seeing some teams that could be buyers and sellers, towing that line of buying for this year, but also selling for 2025 and some controllable years after this year. And the Brewers were mentioned as a team like that. The Guardians, Rays, seems like kind of a lot of those typical teams there. But how would you feel if you are a Brewers fan and you hear like your team that we assume is like going to be buyers at the deadline, maybe adding some more pitching. You're in first place by 5 games. What would kind of go through your mind about being a buyer and a seller? Like, first of all, the first player I thought in my mind was, okay, is that Willy Adames? But then I instantly go back. I'm like, I feel like that was almost their mindset when they traded Josh Hader, and look how that turned out. Now, I know it doesn't mean it would work out the same exact way, but when you think about it, I think that's what the Brewers had in mind. They were in first place at that time, selling, but also buying. They probably looked at, okay, Devin Williams moves up to the closer role. We're protected there. And then we're also trying to stay competitive for the, controllable years for future years and such. It didn't work out. And if they're trying to, or if they're thinking about doing a similar approach, who would that player be? And I keep going back to Willie because, you got Ortiz there, but then if it's Ortiz moves over to short, who's your third base? Does that mean you call up Tyler Black and you make him your permanent one? Because I don't think it can be Andrew Monasterio. Sal Frelick over there. But how much does how much does Christian Yelich now potentially go on the injury list change some of that stuff? Because if it is Willie Adames as one of those guys, you lose a power bat. I mean, you lose one of your top power bats within this lineup. And with Yelich going to be potentially missing some time, that could be a big hit to the offense. So I don't know how I'd feel about that, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, like, it makes me a little bit nervous. It makes me a little bit nervous to hear the potential of being a buyer and seller towing that line. Because what would the reaction be like from a fan base? What would the reaction be like within the clubhouse? Because we hear all this stuff about how Willie Adames, the leadership that he brings off, how he's kind of mentoring some of the younger guys. Like, I feel like that could have a huge effect within the clubhouse. And is that worth it? I don't know if it's worth it. I really don't. And maybe there's other guys that they're talking about. Maybe it's a Trevor McGill, if Devin Williams comes back. But, that's probably not, obviously that isn't as big of a moving piece as a Willie Adames would be. But, is it one of those younger outfielders? You still have control over them, though, too. So, is it Reese? Is it Reese Hoskins that, you trade and then you have Bowers as your first baseman, then you still bring up Tyler Black to go over there? I mean, trying to think of some guys that is like a short-term roster player for the Brewers right now that they would move on from at the deadline to get some more controllable stuff in the future. But the thing is, too, like, if you're going to make that move, if you're going to be a seller, I have to imagine, like, you're going to be trading to a contender that you may have to face in the postseason. So, if there's a team that needs a first baseman or a DH in the National League and they offer you the best deal, if you're the Brewers, do you take it? Even though you may have to go up against that? Interesting. Something to maybe kind of keep an eye on for the next few days here. But if I'm being honest, I'm a little bit nervous on that. I'm a little bit nervous on that. Just because I'm playing all the different scenarios within my mind. I don't know if I can get on board with that. Because I maybe I'm thinking worst case scenario, and that's kind of clouding my judgment here a little bit, but interesting. And again, it could be nothing. Could just be a rumor, speculation, all that stuff out there. So, switching over quickly to a little green and gold chat here. Rashawn Gary had himself a day in the monsoon of practice yesterday. Packers practicing in the rain and such, but in that final 11-on-11 session, Sean Gary showing off his skills. 3 sacks in 4 plays. And again, it was just shorts and all that, so we don't want to overreact to that. But Rashawn Gary talked a little bit with the media after practice, and he was asked about the transition from a 3-4 to a 4-3, and what's the biggest difference for him personally in this system, in Jeff Hafley's system. And he echoed really what Preston Smith said a few weeks ago, quote, hand in the dirt and not dropping back into coverage. I feel more explosive coming out of a 3-point stance. Sometimes when you're in a 2-point stance, you can create more false steps. And with the hand in the dirt, the false steps are taken away. We've talked a lot leading up to training camp, off season, certain players that could really benefit within this defense. We've talked about Quay Walker, maybe transitioning to the weak side, a little bit more room for him to roam and to make some plays. We've talked about Jair Alexander, playing within this new mindset of a press and aggressive coverage. We've talked about, the impact that Xavier McKinney would have in the back end as a safety. We've talked about Kenny Clark, all of his career, he's played in a 3-4. Now he's moving into a 4-3. How much will he benefit from this? Same with Devontae Wyatt. Is this a guy that now is going to break out in year 3? It's a pivotal year, in my opinion, for a guy like Devontae Wyatt. And now you kind of look at a guy like a Rashawn Gary, who has that big contract last year, signed that 4-year, $96 million extension. He hasn't had a double-digit sack season. And I think, when we've talked about this defense, we've talked about, maybe a guy like Lucas Van Ness, who's entering his second year as a guy that's maybe better suited for the hand in the dirt and playing a prototypical 4-3 defensive end. But Rashawn Gary, could he be a breakout player this year? What's the expectation? What's the where's your bottom line maybe for a guy like Rashawn Gary? Like, is it fair to say that you should expect, or we should expect, double-digit sacks from him this year to be that edge rusher that is our number one guy that opposing offenses, fear out there. I'm thinking about last year and some of the sack leaders. TJ Watt's up there. You had Hendrickson from Cincinnati. Those guys out there. But that guy, that guy that it's 3rd and 7, and you gotta have a stop. You need a play. You need a play to happen. And you need that sack. Is it going to be Rashawn Gary this year? Like a Myles Garrett. Guys that just seem to come in the clutch and getting that big sack. Would it be? Part of me was like, okay, can Rashawn Gary, when his first thing all, switched over to a 4-3, I was like, okay, Rashawn Gary, he's got the size. He's not a smaller outside linebacker. It's not like he's 250 or something like that. He's 270, 275. So he's got a little bit more muscle on him. He's got a little bit more weight on him. But now, kind of thinking about, okay, if this is going to help him in terms of eliminating those false steps, as he says, and maybe not thinking a little bit too much, because one of the weaknesses from Rashawn Gary, from early part of his career, has been maybe over pursuing a little bit, maybe taking a wrong angle, jumping out of that 2-point stance, maybe over pursuing a little bit allows that opposing quarterback to sidestep, to step up, or really biting on a play action. Then you got that free run with a running back on the side, on the edge there. Now you got Rashawn Gary, who's straight up focusing on getting after a quarterback. That to me could be pretty darn dangerous. The thing is, if you're going to play that aggressive pass coverage, you're going to play some man-to-man, you better make sure your defensive line gets home. And you better make sure your defensive line can provide some consistent pressure, play in, play out. Because if you're not able to provide that pressure, if you're not able to get after that quarterback, you're not able to make that quarterback uncomfortable, it could be a long day for your corners and your safeties back there to try to hold up on coverage. It could be a really long day. So I think it's fair to say, yes, we should have some high expectations. We should ask a lot from a guy like Rashawn Gary this year. To be that guy, to be the number one pass rusher, to vault himself into that next tier of pass rushers and edge rushers in the NFL. To be in that same category as a Micah Parsons, a Danielle Hunter, Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, TJ Watt, to be that next guy, to take that next step. Nick Bosa. Because he's not there. He's got a nice contract, but he's not in that category. He's not at that level. And I think for this defense to take that step that we all want them to take, to be a unit that opposing teams fear, to be a unit that can get off on third down and create those turnovers, to be a dominant unit, to be a top 5, top 10 unit, it's got to start up front. If you want to play that aggressive pass coverage, it starts up front. And I think Rashawn Gary has to be that guy. He has got to be that guy. I think it's fair to expect more from him. I think it's fair to have high expectations from him. I know we pay a lot of attention to sack numbers, and you got to look at pressure rates and pressure numbers and all that. I just want to see consistent pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, knocking them down, getting them, seeing ghosts back there. Something that we haven't seen too consistently over the last couple of years. But doesn't it kind of frustrate you too when, if you're a Packers fan and you hear another guy, an edge rusher, say, I get to go after the quarterback more instead of dropping back in coverage? Doesn't that kind of frustrate you? Like, what took so long? You know what I mean? What took so long? So I think it's fair. Again, I think it's fair to expect a lot from Rashawn Gary this year. All right, we got to take a quick break. Maybe. Got to use the mouse again. Once in a while, the touchscreen works. All right, there we go. All right. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up this first hour after these few words. Fire up the grills with the best brats in town from Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Whether you want to try some of their awesome Bloody Mary brats or try the dill pickle, cheddar bacon ones over there. Those are my wife's favorites. Or maybe you're looking for some snack sticks if you're taking a little road trip and such and you want to load up a cooler full of snack sticks. They got that. Freeze-dried candy. Some awesome ones over there. The Jolly Ranchers, I should say. The Happy Farmer ones over there. You buy a package of those and a portion goes to help fund Backyard Dreams. Mike's Star Market, big time supporter of Backyard Dreams over there. So check them out for all of your grilling needs. Maybe you're in the mood for a steak or some burgers or some ribs on the smoker and such. Hey, they got all best quality in Eau Claire. So check them out. West side of Eau Claire, Mike's Star Market. Mike's Star Market. All right, so we just got a few minutes to the top here. So coming up next hour, we'll get back to some more Brewers talk, but I'm throwing this question out to you, Brewers fans. What are your thoughts? What's going through your mind when you hear about the possibility that the Brewers, by the trade deadline next Tuesday, could be buyers and sellers? Kind of towing that line over there. Buyers and sellers. Does it make you a little nervous? Do you agree with it? What's kind of going through your mind when you hear that? So we'll throw some Badger football chats coming in here too. What is your excitement level for Badger football this year? Second year under Luke Fickell. Last year, ton of excitement. High expectations for some. Maybe he didn't live up to that. I think a lot of us were a little disappointed in how the season went last year. But year two, Luke Fickell, excuse me. And then the expansion of the Big Ten. Where's your excitement level with that? So we'll get to that coming up next hour. We'll finish up, though, with Morgs. Good morning, More. Why is that moved all the way over there?
I don't know. The mic was swung all the way around. More better to the question, what the heck is this awesome pack of miracles sitting by me?
Got a little Bloody Mary package there from Myron Construction for the golf outing.
Well, I don't like to correct a guy, but it's not little.
No.
It's big. Look at that. You got like the real deal. Beef jerky.
Got
pickles,
some pickled beans or asparagus in there.
What's this for?
The golf outing. It's a raffle prize. Yeah, you can't have it.
It was sitting right by my mic. For an instant, I thought my life just improved.
No.
Aw, and you got dill pickle flavored vodka in there?
Yep.
That's awesome. Whoever did that, tell us who.
Myron Construction.
Thank you, Myron. Yeah. You know how to build a good Bloody Mary.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Nice. Yeah.
So, Wild Card Wednesday, how are we feeling today?
Feeling okay, I think.
It's National Drive-Through Day.
Ooh. Nice.
Okay, now are you a drive-through guy or are you a go-in guy? Because I know you like your fast food and so does Hutsy.
I don't like. Why do you say I like my fast food?
You like nuggies, fries. You like the classics.
Hey, I'm trying to stay healthier.
It is healthy.
Yeah.
So
I miss the good old drive-in, like the A&W you order with that big menu.
Few places still do that.
I know. Medford used to have an A&W like that.
Yeah. I think we were in Durand recently for attorney, and they still have a drive-in, the Panther drive-in there.
Yeah.
And isn't there one if you're headed out towards Augusta? There's one somewhere along
there.
Yeah. So you're a drive-through guy though, if you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider yourself a car guy? You know, some people are just like,
I don't know.
They know
about
cars.
No.
You don't?
No.
Well, then this is going to be an absolute failure.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
Let's get right up on blocks. You don't know anything about cars? All right, let's
I know how to drive them.
Crash and burn. We're going to do some Wednesday wildcard trivia action here with automobiles, but it's actually not that difficult. So even though you're not a car guy, you might be able to guess. Okay? They're like for simple.
All right.
Vehicle speedometer. What does MPH stand for?
Miles per hour.
Okay, see, we're warming up. Not so bad. Let's think muscle cars now. What was the name of the car that was first marketed as the muscle car?
The first muscle car?
Now think, I'm going to give you a hint for movies. You like movies. You've seen Dazed and Confused.
No.
Sweet Emotion. That orange car is coming around the bend. Everybody knows that scene in Dazed and Confused.
Is it Camaro?
Pontiac GTO.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So early and often here, we're going flat. The wheels are falling off the car trivia. I did not know this. This is just kind of a little interesting piece of trivia here.
R means reverse.
What do the letters PT stand for in
PT?
the PT Cruiser? You know those little, they look like tiny little hearses.
Performance?
No.
No. Personal?
Yes.
Transportation?
Yes.
All right.
How did you know that? That was the one I didn't
I don't know
know.
Why, but I kind of remember something like that.
I did not know that. Yeah. All right. So then we're going to dig into the Corvette first generation of Chevy Corvette introduced in what year? Take a stab at it.
60s?
Earlier.
50s?
Yeah.
Okay. 57?
53.
Okay.
1953. If you could have a dream, because you got a truck, and I will give
Yeah.
you credit, you got a pretty sharp truck
Yeah.
with the red line and all that. So
Ooh, look at you with
if
that name drop
I
there too.
like
Yeah.
vehicles.
All right.
So what would you do if you could build your dream vehicle?
I would like the back of the cab a little bit more space back there.
For what?
Hutsy. It's a little tight.
What?
He's
Let
a
him in
grown
the
boy.
house.
He's a grown boy. So
Give him
like
his
long
own room.
the thing is he doesn't like long road trips because he gets uncomfortable. So I need a little bit more
Yeah,
space
but he's an
back there.
only. He's not even shared it with siblings back there,
I
man.
know, but he's
He
a
needs
boy.
a leg room and a recliner in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have this great little like doggy hammock that we have. You guys want to borrow that? You can do that when our dogs
Probably.
ride with us.
Yeah,
Okay, that might
probably.
help.
So Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning, July 24th. A big thanks to all of you for tuning in, wherever, however you may be tuning in from. We're going to get back to some more baseball talk here. Brewers trying to get another series win against the Cubbies. They've already wrapped up the season series against the Cubs. Believe it or not, this is the last game between the Brewers and the Cubs so far for the rest of the season. So 1:20 first pitch. Twins and Phillies will also wrap up their series this afternoon. Got a couple of day games to be paying attention to out there. Less than a week away from the MLB trade deadline. We'll go over some of the latest rumors, rumblings, reports. Also, we got a little business of sports coming up just about an hour, a little under an hour from now. So we'll talk some college football, Big Ten Media Days also going on in Indy. So Luke Fickell talking yesterday to the media. We'll go over some of the stuff that he had to say yesterday. We'll have a new episode of the Man Cave podcast brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. Later up this morning, we took the mobile Man Cave out and about yesterday, recorded a podcast at Ultimate Authentics on the west side of Eau Claire. You want to get some memorabilia, some cards, some autograph stuff over there, go check out Ultimate Authentics. Recorded it with Brian from the Card Collecting Club. They got an event coming up at our good friends at the VFW Post 305 on September 8th. So you can listen to more about that in our podcast. Awesome card event for the kiddos out there. So that'll be up a little bit later on. And I wanted to tell you this, Luke. So first of all, I know you do the Packer one. Do you collect Brewer yearbooks by any chance?
I used to.
Okay.
For a while, I think they stopped doing it. That kind of got me out of the rhythm of doing it.
So if you want, I'm just going to throw this out because Doug over there told me to check them out. They got a bunch of from the 80s Brewers yearbooks.
See, those are the ones that I mainly have,
okay.
But only beginning with 1984.
Ooh, they did have an 82 one there.
What?
Yep. They had some earlier ones too.
Now, how expensive is the 82 one? Because that would be like the gold standard.
And
it's going into 82, so that's,
don't quote me, but it was like $5.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me more details afterwards.
Okay.
Like instead of so let's give all the details to all these people listening that are like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So I immediately thought they even had some Bucks ones on there too. So
wow.
Yeah, from the 70s and 80s.
And my gosh. I have one of my first ones that I got and because I'll bet this is what my dad was doing when I first got into sports. And again, it was 1985, right around that time. Packers yearbook, Brewers yearbook. And we lived in Grafton. So we're right near Milwaukee. So of course it's going to be all the Wisconsin teams, proximity, was the Bucks media guide. They didn't have, maybe they had yearbooks. I shouldn't say, but I poured over that thing so much and still have it. It's right next to the Packers and Brewers yearbooks from the 84-85 season, or was it 85-86? Either way, yes. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
strongly.
I was going through them. I was looking through them because they told me to check them out, and the first person I thought of was you right away.
Whoa.
So yeah.
Okay.
In really good shape too. Really good shape.
Okay.
So
good to know.
We'll talk more.
Yes,
I'll give you some more info over there. So, but yeah, definitely a really cool spot too if you want to check out. They have some. A Babe Ruth one autograph up. Some really cool stuff over there. So I did pick up a nice Vince Lombardi 1974 card thing there too. So
wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, there's a nice. They still got remember the starting lineup figures. All of those posts first. Anything you can kind of imagine over there. So,
oh man, it's
a dangerous place to be too, because money wise. So
that's really cool. Oh man,
yeah,
this may be dangerous. Might be the way to put it, and a good dangerous, but dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll talk. I was gonna text you yesterday, and I'm like, I'll talk. I know I'm gonna talk to you today.
Okay.
So,
okay. Here we go.
Speaking of a little baseball chat here, I wanted to ask you, with your 20s, less than a week away from the trade deadline, have you heard any rumors, rumblings, and how aggressive your team's going to be before the deadline?
Not too much of late. mean, the injury bug is the injury bug. Now with Correa being out for at least a while, Lewis is still working his way back. He said if he had to go, he could go, but they don't really need him right now. I mean, last night was on Durant. I mean, I know the Twins didn't have any offense last night, but that's not Royce Lewis's fault necessarily. Well, then again, maybe he would have just shown up and hit a home run in one at bat. The point is, I think they need more in the way of pitching. I mean, Woods Richardson did great last night. Ober's held his own. Lopez has held his own. I think the bullpen is probably the weakest spot, and it's not just Durant, but he's been up and down. There are sometimes he comes in and takes care of everything, and there's nights like last night where 0-0 game, and then he goes kaputski. It happens maybe a little too frequently for my taste. So, I mean, maybe they could get a Crochet or a Fetty or someone like that, but the market is so strong for those guys. I don't know that they might have to give away a lot to get them. That being said, the Twins got a great farm system. They have one of the best rated farm systems right now in Major League Baseball. So they do have the capital to go get someone. The question is, are they going to be as desperate as some other teams that really do need that one other guy? Like the Brewers probably are more desperate right now to get that one pitcher. Even though they're in a better position in the division, you'd rather have a little more confidence, especially given that the hitting on this team was not expected to be as good this year as it's turned out to be. So maybe that turns into a problem later on. There's still a lot of season to go. So it's those sorts of teams that are probably going to outbid for the biggest names. I don't know that Skubal's going to go. I know he's been talked about some that maybe could the Tigers get a heck of a return, and he's under control for a while. That's what makes him attractive. But they would have to get, the Baseball Tonight people were saying it would have to be like a Juan Soto style turnaround.
Would it be like, I know Baltimore is like referencing that. Would they have to give up Holiday almost to maybe get him?
That's an interesting name. Given that he didn't turn out that. I mean, he's still really young though. We shouldn't,
because of what, he's a short, and they have Gunnar Henderson too. So I mean, that's the other part of that thing.
Maybe, given the wealth of quality they got on that team, but pitching is a problem for Baltimore. Baltimore's going to get a pitcher. Question is who, but it's happening there. So especially if I'm kind of aiming this back to Milwaukee a little bit, that's who you're up against. They're going to go full bore on this one. And they're not going to blow up their team, but they might. I don't think Holiday goes, but he's in the discussion, at least at first, we fans or sports folks can imagine. And like I said, Skubal would be a great pickup there. I mean, Skubal would be a great one for anyone. You get Tariq Skubal, he's around for several more years, but you're going to have to give up a lot.
Yeah.
The Twins have...
Well, and the Tigers, though, they're getting, like, how much would they want to move on? Like, I know you said it'd have to be a big haul, but they're a team on the rise, too, aren't they?
Well, right. That's the thing. You have to get a Soto. And by Soto, I mean the Padres Nationals trade.
Right.
Which has turned out really well for the Nationals. It's like, oh, here's another player coming up from the Juan Soto trade who's going to be a future star. But it's going to have to be to that level because the Tigers seem to be like you said, they're starting to get better. Maybe not as well as potentially this year. I had them as a playoff team, and some other people had them as a potential like dark horse playoff team. They were good earlier on, but they've slipped back. So if you get rid of Skubal and you don't get a good haul, I mean, I know what does that say to the fans? What does that say to the team? Or what does that say about the team's approach, the front office's approach? For a potential Cy Young winner. He's that good. So someone's going to have a Godfather offer. Baltimore might do it.
I like how you phrase that.
That's really what it is. Minnesota and Los Angeles, I guess I have to clarify now. The Dodgers have the personnel to pull it off. That they could send people over. But I don't know that the Twins really need them. Dodgers, I mean, their pitching's up and down. Maybe they do it. Can you imagine Tarek Skubal going to the Dodgers?
Oh, that's like, I think it was, I vented about this yesterday on a Grind My Gears when it was like MLB Network. Hey, this person would fit really well with the Dodgers, and who doesn't fit well with the Dodgers?
Everyone fits well with the Dodgers.
Everyone freaking fits well with the Dodgers.
You would fit well with the Dodgers.
Exactly. So, I mean, come on now. Let's be a little bit more creative with this segment.
But the thing is, for a team that's supposed to be one of the, like, across the board, highly talented teams, they do have a lot of holes.
Mm-hmm.
Their pitching has had a lot of injuries. Yamamoto's he may not pitch again this season.
Kershaw is coming back, I think Thursday, tomorrow.
But he's older.
But he is older, yep.
Some of their position players, the bottom of their order, it's gotten better, but it's not that. That's been a definitive weak spot. You kind of have to account for Mookie Betts to a degree. His being out as long as he is. I mean, there are a lot of factors that favor the Dodgers. They're going to play for a lot of stuff, for a lot of players. So be ready for that to come around. It's a little rich get richer, but will it all translate too? That's the other thing.
We were talking about it in the first hour, and I'm not sure if you saw this nugget from MLB.com yesterday. But there's a piece about, kind of a trade deadline primer. And one note was that an executive, NL executive, noted the amount of teams this year, it seems like, that are towing that line of being buyers and sellers. And they mentioned the Brewers as one of those teams. A buyer, obviously, to help this year, but also a seller to get players there they can control 2025 and beyond. And my first thought was like, okay, does that mean Willy Adames is available potentially? But then I'm like, is that almost a Josh Hader thing where they were in first place, but they wanted more control for the next couple of years? And how did that turn out? Like, part of me, when I hear that, I get nervous. I get nervous making a move, because if you're selling now, that means it's got to be a guy that's like short-term, end of the year. He's not going to be back next year, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go through, I'm like, it's like Willie or potentially even a Reese Hoskins on there. And I get nervous thinking about that.
Hoskins has been productive enough.
Well, and like with the Yelich injury, depending on how long he's going to be out, does that change the thought process a little bit?
Maybe. I mean, how long do you think he's going to be out?
Well, he was out almost a month last time with the back, and Pat Murphy sure sounded like he was going to go on the IL. So,
okay,
not ideal. Well, maybe it is ideal right before the trade deadline because it changes things.
Right, but then that probably means you don't want to get rid of Hoskins for pitching.
Right.
I mean, relief pitching you probably don't need. It's more starting pitching is what the Brewers would need. But Reese Hoskins is okay. Reese Hoskins isn't getting you Garrett Crochet.
No,
it's of course it'd be part of a package, but Hoskins, no, he's not going to end up going to the White Sox in the ultimate rebuilding mode. No, I don't think the Brewers send off one of their bigger players. Though I think that's more farm for veteran versus veteran for kind of second, third tier player who can still contribute this season, i.e. a reliever or a fifth starter, something like that.
Yeah. It's just when I was like, oh, is that another Josh Hader thing?
I don't think so.
I don't either, but and that could just be pure speculation too, that sort of thing. But that was my first name that came through my mind was Willie, because that was still out there. It's still out there. But the thing is like, okay, but if you're going to trade Willie, that's obviously to a contender. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right. So and all the contenders that have been mentioned is National League contenders. Would the Brewers actually do that? Send them to the Dodgers or the Braves?
That would be, because I mean, if I'm the Brewers, I'm considering everyone in the NL to be a rival at this point. You're thinking playoff scenarios, and the Central outside of maybe still the Cardinals doesn't scare you as much. No, I wouldn't. I mean, send Reese back home. I mean, and he is beloved in Philadelphia. Oh my gosh, they would take him back. I mean, I guess you could trade with Philadelphia, and maybe you get something else and figure, well, it's really not going to make that much of a difference, but you're going to get more. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out some way that would work. I think Rhys Hoskins stays a Brewer for the remainder of this season.
I do too. I would be shocked if they traded one of those guys.
Yeah. If they traded both,
Mm-hmm.
like then there's some big doubt of how this season's going to go, because that is kind of nope, we don't got this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Yep. Yeah.
I think they're going to be fine.
I agree. All right. We got to take a quick break here. We'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up a little bit later on, though. So we'll take a quick break and be back with more after these messages. Next Friday, we've got our golf outing. Still just a couple teams open for that 7:30 tee time if you want to get a quick 9 in before maybe you got to go to work or such. But you can head to sportstalk1051.com and sign up that way. Just scroll down a little bit and click on that. Or you can visit the 715 store, 715store.com, and sign up that way too. But $90, two-person team, all that good stuff, all the details up at sportstalk1051.com. Want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. First off, Princeton Valley Golf Course for hosting us again this year. Hy-Vee, our Champions Meal sponsors, Resonance Branding Company, the Title Belt sponsors, our putting green sponsors, Gemco Surfaces, Beverage sponsors, Park Ridge Distributing, our Green Jacket sponsors, Muldoon's Menswear, sponsors Carpet City Flooring Center that has been with us since we first started this, AJM Automotive Service, John and his group over there. We've got the Elbow Room and Garrett. Big thanks from Garrett's. We've got Edward Jones, financial advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Alex and the Doododge, Hannah Sellner Agency, American Family Insurance, Shepke Chiropractic, Dr. Logan, Kevin and Shoe Doctor team. We've got Clay and Service Master, Chippewa Valley, Myron Construction, and also VFW Post 305. And big thanks also to Myron Construction. They dropped off a raffle prize for us. Got a cooler filled up with Bloody Mary supplies over there, including some beef sticks and some looks like some pickled green beans and such. So got that fully up over there. We've got Jordan Love jersey. We've got a Giannis jersey. We got a football from the Packers. We've got a nice bottle of scotch because you got to have a victory scotch over there. Thanks to Spectrum Industries too for donating the gaming chair. Service Master donated some prizes, some sweet cards if you want to collect some cards over there. We got golf bag from Park Ridge Distributing as well. So big thanks to everybody who has stopped by or has dropped off some prizes for our raffles, because all the proceeds are going to help Backyard Dreams. So and Hy-Vee, yep, donated some prizes over there too. So big thanks. It's going to be a good day next Friday. We are on to the Sweet 16, finally, officially, for our bracket challenge here, Lucas. We'll start the voting tomorrow, but Corey Hart, Giovanni Gallardo going to be going up against each other. Jim Gantner and Ben Sheets. Those are your four in the Brewers region.
Wow.
The Badgers region, we got John Stocco versus Al Toon, and then Scott Tolzien versus Joe Pavelski. I find it a little ironic. Again, these are all voted on by listeners and nominated by listeners. For all the frustrations of Badger quarterbacks over the years, two of them have made the four into this thing. So, Packers, Chuck Cecil will be taking on Amon Green. Tremont Williams and William Henderson was very, very, very close. In fact, it was, how did it go? It was Henderson was leading the Facebook vote, but Twitter/X users were like, no, it's Tremont, and barely squeaked by. So Tremont takes on Lynn Dickey. And then Andy North versus Steve Stricker, because, of course, and then Brandon Jennings versus Terry Porter. So we'll start the brackets up on Facebook if you want to take a look at it, and we'll start the voting next week.
Interesting choices.
I am a little surprised with some of how the voting went, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I will say that I would vote differently for some of these. For one, Eric Heiden, I think, should be in a Sweet 16, but he's not. So I would put him in there, but I do think it's a little maybe popularity part too.
Yeah. And also like nostalgia. When did you grow up with? I mean, of course, I'm going to defer to like when I hear Jim Gantner, like, yes, click. But that's because I started following baseball in the 80s when he played.
Right. Yep, definitely. So you think was any of those names that I mentioned kind of jump out to you as like, I think that's going to be the guy that wins it?
Oh, boy. The whole thing?
In that Sweet 16.
No.
I think Jim gets through the Brewers region.
I think, but again, there's a little bit of, because he's going up against
Ben Sheets.
That could be a tough one. Because if he came up in the aughts, I mean, he was, for a while, he was like the only good Brewer. Gander's a hometown guy. I mean, by home state guy, I should say.
Yep.
So I don't know that because I thought Paul Kaufman was going to advance.
Yeah.
So I don't know about any of them, honestly.
My predictions, again, I don't vote. I think it's going to be Jim. I think Altoon's going to get through the Badgerwood region. I'm back and forth between Chuck Cecil and Lynn Dickey. Like, Chuck Cecil was one of our most nominated guys, but I think Lynn Dickey's going to get through it by name recognition. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but popularity sort of thing.
And probably would have been like a much bigger star if he had somewhat of a competent team around him.
Mm-hmm. And I think Steve Stricker's going to get through the other one.
Okay.
So I think my prediction for Final Four is going to be Gantner, Altoon, Lynn Dickey, and Stricker.
Very 80s oriented, or at least for three of them.
Yeah. Stricker, I think, is more for what he's doing with the Champions Tour right now. Obviously.
He's still relevant.
Yes. Yep.
And yet underrated, if that makes any sense. But I think that applies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I could see that being the case.
Mm-hmm. But I've been wrong with a lot of these other ones.
So it'll be John Stocco, Brandon Jennings.
Yeah.
I'm running.
Brandon Jennings in 6. There we go.
Of course. Well, see, don't underestimate those wacky ones.
Yep. Not at all.
Bucks and 6.
Yep. Our good buddy Mark said the Brewers should consider James Paxton from the Dodgers, looking to unload him. Was he DFA'd? Did I see that?
Yes, he was. He's been rocked, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him come up as a Twins possibility as well. But not in a, let's go get this guy. It's more of a, well, you could. So if that's any indication.
Well, you could. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't get too excited. That being said, maybe it could be one of those needs another location.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Brewers see something in him, and you know how they work with pitchers. I mean, I know the Dodgers traditionally are pretty good with pitchers too, but the Brewers have an approach that's worked really well over a long time. So I wouldn't unequivocally rule him out. I think there would be a lot of skepticism if he's one of the guys. It's going to be probably broadly unpopular among fans, whatever, initially. But I kind of trust that the Brewers know what they're doing. So if he does come, I'm going to presume that they found something that they like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, quickly, let's go to a little college football chat. We have Big Ten media days going on over in Indy. And I know we've mentioned it a couple times this week, but you have because the Big Ten doesn't do preseason polls, right? They don't do the preseason. So it's Cleveland.com.
That's right.
Cleveland.
Thank you, Plain Dealer, for always stepping up there.
Right, exactly. Ohio State got the most votes. Oregon, number 2, Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin coming in at number 7. Nebraska, Rutgers, Washington rounding out the top 10. Minnesota coming in at 12. This is going to be my San Diego Chargers thing. I'm not going to be able to get used to seeing Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA in this thing. Normally when I see 7th, are you kidding me? But then it's like 7 out of 18. So then it's like, okay, does that make it a little bit better? A little bit better?
I am honestly struggling with this whole thing now. Like Danny Cannell just put up the video of who's got the best uniform, because the Big Ten at their media days, they always put up the mannequins with the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the video running through, which actually it's a pretty decent set this year. There's not that one you're like, whoa, dude, you gotta. No, they're all really good, but UCLA shows up, Oregon shows up, just like, no, that's not the Big Ten. I'm and I know it doesn't really mean that much, but man, this is messing with my worldview right now. So when I hear like Oregon number 2, no, they're not. Wait, yes, of course we know, but that. Do you think Wisconsin's ranked properly in that?
I think so. I'm genuinely curious to hear from Badger football fans, though. Like, where's their excitement level for this year? I mean, last year it was out through the roof with Luke Fickell era coming in, right? I mean, maybe even had some too high of expectations to go out there too. With that being said, it was a down year last year. Have those expectations kind of been put in check now for Badger football fans? Are they still excited? Or are they a little bit nervous? Are they maybe kind of turned off because you've got USC coming in and you've got, Oregon coming in, and they're like, yeah, good luck. You ain't going to beat those teams.
And I know that they're going to be a little bit down this year, obviously, because losing your coach and losing certain players, but defending runner-up, that's they got there. They have that capability to do it. I could understand if that's going to be the case, and I don't know what ultimately we'll all collectively think. I think it's probably healthier to not have such high expectations, because they were really strong. I mean, it looked like, wow, Wisconsin's going to join Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State old Big Ten roster of the best, and they can hold their own. They still might. I don't want to even that actually sounds like an understatement. Like, I think they very well could. It's absolutely possible they can get there. Oh, plus the whole NIL era, we don't know exactly what that's all going to result, or what the result of all of that is going to be. And depending on how different schools approach all of this, maybe Wisconsin finds a way to get back to stay right in the one tier below Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, which is where they've been for a long time. Can they get close enough that they're still right there with now Oregon, a rising USC, those other teams, and then whomever else may potentially come up? We don't know. But it's probably better to not presume, undefeated season. And I don't know who was really thinking that, but there was probably some expectation that they're going to be college football playoff team last year. Not even close.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm curious to see how this team does. I know, it's for me, for college sports, and I hate to say this when it comes to the Division I level, it's, how do I want to phrase this properly? It's getting a little bit harder to be really pumped up for, because every season now changes for these teams. There's so much roster turnover, right? I mean, we've talked about it at length with transfer portals and that sort of stuff. And it's like, how do you build for the Packers, for example, and I get it's a pro thing and maybe not the greatest example, but it's like, okay, how that season ended last year, we're excited for this year. But it's completely different now. And it's like, I don't know what to expect. And again, the thing that frustrates me the most about Badger football or college football in general for a lot of teams, you lose one, it's like, oh, there goes your national championship. Now I get it. Expansion might help that a little bit more.
It will, but not entirely.
Not entirely for teams maybe like Wisconsin, right? It'll help teams with already the Alabamas and whatever, Georgias and all Ohio States and that. But yeah. It is creeping my mind. It is going to be very difficult, I think, to get through this Big Ten and get to the college football playoff. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we had expectations to compete for national championship. Have they lowered now again with the expansion of the Big Ten Conference? Even though the college football playoff has expanded, has our expectations kind of lowered, or what we want now for Badger football lowered a little bit because of the Big Ten getting better?
It's a really good question. I'd be curious to know kind of the sentiment, because I haven't noticed one way or the other. I don't know what most Badgers fans are thinking. I mean, I can tell you as a Gophers fan, it feels more remote now. Like, not getting past all these others. Thankfully, they're competitive enough that I'm not to the point of just let's shut down the program and convert the stadium into student housing or something. It's not that bleak, but I mean, the long-standing dream of making the Rose Bowl is, at least in a traditional sense, is done. Side note, you saw that thing about how the Rose Bowl is still trying to do January 1st at 4 p.m. start?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I mean, yes, I love that. That is like the ultimate of the bowl traditions. On the other hand, gosh, guys, read the room. Everyone else is moving on here. That's gone. And that was a goal for pretty much my whole Gopher football fandom life. And now, A, that's not happening. And B, what are the odds of even being third or fourth in the Big Ten? But you never know. In a given year, again, anything could happen.
Right.
So we shouldn't give up. Wisconsin could have a great year. Maybe it's not going to be year in and year out. You're not going to be Ohio State, Michigan. Well, I don't want to say USC because they've had some actual down years of late. But you're not going to be one of those programs that, inertia will keep them within the top 3 every year.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin's gonna have a tougher road, but smart about it. You're close. This is kind of back to where the Badgers have always been. You're close enough that you could win it. And the expanded playoff very much helps. If there was no expanded playoff, then yeah, I'd be like, all right, now cool. You're going to be hoping for a semi-decent bowl game every year. And then I would firmly lower expectations, even with all the uncertainties that I said of maybe you can improve the because you're still fighting for 4. 12 is different. I know was Heather Denich was saying the other day that regular season is still going to matter more because of home field advantage for the bottom teams, 5 through 12. Okay, that's a factor. You want a game at Camp Randall? Fight for it. And yeah, maybe a 3-loss Badger team's not getting there, but maybe a 2-loss team is. What if through NIL or something you're able to finally get that Heisman Trophy caliber, I should say, not necessarily finalist, but caliber quarterback? You could still get there. So I wouldn't be too fatalistic, but I would be curious the overall sentiment. And maybe it is more fatalistic than I think. I don't think it is. I think Badgers fans are still going to presume that they're going to do fairly well, even if it's not as optimistic as a year ago. Understandably so. But I'd really like to know what it is.
Right. Big Worm saying that I must see significant improvement by this Wisconsin Badger football team and the Luke Fickell era to be a believer. I have 3 losses: Alabama, Penn State, and Oregon. Any more losses than that, and I will be very disappointed. Another texter, Browner, saying in the new NIL era, the new mega conference era, it's harder to get excited because I think the Badgers, and at least the short term, are the best middle of the pack. Keep up the great work, Browner. So it's okay. So is that line 3 losses if we use Big Worms? Are you disappointed? I'll throw it back to everybody else. We're looking at the schedule. Are you disappointed if they have more than 3 losses this year? Is that I hate to use the word failure. You know what I mean?
Right.
I hate to use that because there's so much more that could happen, and we don't know what actually transpires in that. But is that the line? Is that the minimum? 3 losses. Let's look at their schedule. You got Alabama coming in here to Camp Randall. You've got that Penn State's homecoming game for Wisconsin. Oregon. Those are all 3 home games too. That Big Worm, those 3 losses. Those are all home games too for Wisconsin.
But those are potentially 3 losses right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have one more out there, which
at USC.
Yeah, we're expecting USC to be better.
And that's coming off of a bye because they got Alabama, then a bye, then USC.
And now I can dust this off once again for the year. The dreaded Northwestern game.
Yeah.
I mean, are they at Camp Randall or
that's at Evanston?
They're on the lakefront this year. Side note, I love what they did there. Having that, I'm gonna have to watch that game or at least some Northwestern game just to see the camera shots. Hopefully get a little bit of Lake Michigan in the background. That's going to look really cool. But that's that like there's probably one of those out there somewhere. Now, that's also presuming that you lose to Alabama, Oregon, and Penn State. Mm-hmm. I don't think they lose to all 3. If they do, okay, if they lose to all 3 of them, this is no better than last year. Mm-hmm. Another meh kind of season for at least by Badger standards. And they could win almost every other game. But if they have a 4-loss season and they lose to all 3 of those, even though understanding that those are all great programs, those 3, yeah, I wouldn't be super excited about that. But 3 probably, 3 is the lowest they can go to have any shot of getting in the college football playoff. You could have another chaos year. You know how those go. Mm-hmm. And they could have 4 losses be ranked like 12th or 13th. Plus, they do have that advantage of being a Big Ten team. It's going to help over a lot of I know a lot of the teams are joining the big conferences, but it's going to help over, well, probably to a degree, the Big 12 and really anyone below that.
Mm-hmm. We got C-Bon say, I'll say it's a rebuilding year for the Badgers. Fickell does not have his talent across the roster yet. I think Big Worm is right. Probably going to be 3 losses. So maybe this is the next question I'll throw out there too is, who's the biggest factor in the ultimate success for the Badgers this year, player-wise? Is it their new quarterback again, Tyler Van Dyke, coming over from the U, Miami? Or is it going to be the defense, considering the teams that they're going to be going up against that are coming over, the Oregons, Washington's office? I'm curious to see what it's like. I know, you lose your head coach. He's in Alabama right now. And then your quarterbacks and such. And obviously they lost a lot of talent in the draft. And then USC with Lincoln Riley over there too. Is it the defense stepping up, or is it going to be the quarterback play?
Still the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you still had good defenses in the Big Ten before. There's just more talent, but it's still the same thing. At some point, the Badgers need to get like a consistently good quarterback. That is, my gosh, even though it hasn't been the worst at that position, that is one of the more remarkable bugaboo. What do you want to, if throw out your term? Kryptonite, Achilles heel, and then move like a few steps not as extreme.
Mm-hmm.
For any college football team that I can think of, and I'll say college football because recruiting is different than pro football. Can you think of another team that, I can't, but can you think of another team that consistently cannot find excellence at one position? Excellence, I want to say. They've had good quarterback, but excellence.
Excellence more than 1 year?
Yeah, like Russell Wilson was the one, and that was a quick transfer sort of situation.
Well, hey, now we got 2 in our Final Four, though. Bolzina and John Stocco, apparently.
I still don't know. I'm still trying to compute that. But they never can get that going, and every time they have 5-star recruit coming, doesn't work out.
But is it, for the longest time, though, too, I'll throw this out there, do quarterbacks want to come? Because it was always run first, run. And they
for
don't
a
have
while,
that ability
I think
to.
it was the approach of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But
because if you have pro aspirations, if you're only going to throw 10 to 15 times a game, you might not have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, that's the structural explanation, and it is a legitimate explanation.
Not everybody can have a Tanner Morgan there, Luke.
Gosh, don't remind me. But
first round pick, Tanner Morgan.
Are we sure he's still not a Gopher? Could he come back for like his 9th year of eligibility or something?
No, he's still a free agent, says here. So he's only 25. My butt. He is not 25.
I think it's going to be like a Chris Wenke, 30-year-old college football quarterback sort of situation. I'm being a little facetious with that. So there are reasons for it, but when they've seemingly had the guy, it's more of a recent phenomenon. It hasn't worked out. Well, maybe that's why they got fickle now, but we haven't had enough time. Because how many times have you seen the notification coming up of like 4-star quarterback is transferring to Wisconsin over the last year plus? Like, whoa, here we go, and we haven't had.
Well, and that's what makes it harder though too with the transfer portal. You are a 4-star, you are a 5-star quarterback. You don't want to wait 2 years,
right?
I think everybody's kind of surprised Arch Manning is still over there, and he might be sitting for 2 years and then finally going to play in the 3rd year.
Why hasn't he transferred yet?
That's the hard part. You can't really hold on to a guy and develop him because they want to play right away now.
Mm-hmm. But then when they want to play, maybe they haven't developed into a quality quarterback, and so then they underwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, this is a 5-star. Gosh, he sucks. Well, he sucks because he doesn't suck. He's doing that because he wanted to go play, and that doesn't apply to every player, but for a lot of them. And again, maybe it's still a blind spot. I'm going to give the Badgers a bit of the benefit of the doubt because they have different AD, different coach, different structure all around the structure of college football.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a streak. It's like one of those long streaks that, I've talked about those stupid stats, but they're still stats. They're still viable. That's kind of one of them.
Let me ask this question and we got to take it really quick. I'll throw it out there. Then we got to take a break because we're running a little long here. But I feel like what's going to happen with this, we're talking about quarterbacks. I feel like when the season's going on, I'm going to start seeing posts on Facebook that we got to start running the ball more. We got to start running the ball more. It's bound to happen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bet G-Man's 401k, whatever's left of that thing on there. Can Wisconsin win with the old Alvarez, Paul Chris, whatever area, Bielema, where they run for 40 times and only throw 10 more times, or 10 to 15 times in a game? Or considering how the Big Ten is right now, how the landscape is right now, is that a winning style?
Probably not. That's a good question, but probably not. I mean, I think most people have been a lot of teams have been sour on the concept for a while, but then again, the better running backs tend to be in college because they haven't worn themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
See lack of contracts in the NFL.
Right. All right. So think about that, everybody. And hit me up with text. We also had Chad say, great, take it or leave it question. 8-4 record this year. So take it or leave it.
Ooh. Should do like an over-under at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Really quick break. We'll finish up the second hour here. Get your thoughts coming. Hit us up with some more texts. All right. Join the convo. 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, we only got a couple minutes left to the top. We're going to do some business of sports. We got a couple things to hit up with our business of sports coming up next hour. Would you rather have an 8-4 record beating Alabama or a 9-3 record? Can I? Okay, would you rather beat Oregon or Alabama? Oregon if we use the preseason power rankings and that, slightly rated higher, depending on which one you're looking at.
I think Alabama carries more cachet right now.
It does, the name, right?
Even post Saban, for now it still does.
For now it does, yeah. Although there's some apprehension a little bit with that. But you're right. It's the name, right?
There are Alabama fans who wanted Saban fired because they lost a chance.
Well, it was like Dookie's wanting Coach K fired. I'm like, crying out loud.
I will say though, look at the Craig Counsell. I know it's just rando Twitter guys, but I love when Craig Counsell is trending.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh,
bad take, Jesse. Swinging for the lake. I mean, did you hear that?
No.
Oh yeah, it was. You could kind of tell the frustration might have been Boyle's right before this Brewer series. A reporter asked him about somebody's at bat. I just blanked on the guy's name, but it was an aggressive swing at the plate, and he was asked a question, and he used the phrase, "What'd you think of so and so's approach? It looked like he was swinging for the lake," and Craig Counsell went off. It's like, swinging for the lake. That's a bad take. He kept saying, that's a bad take. Bad take. Swinging for the lake. I was like, oh boy.
It's turning into one of those sorts of situations.
Yeah.
Kind of getting into the Lee Elia. For those, we can't play it on the air. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
We will get fired if we try that. Look up Lee Elia Cubs 1983. Go.
Yeah. All right. 2 in. We got one more to go. Lots to digest in our business of sports coming up after these news updates. All right, here we go. Final hour on this Wednesday morning, making a turn on the week here. Big thanks for tuning in. Still, I keep refreshing to get any Jordan Love updates, and nothing yet. Nothing yet. So I thought it was gonna be done by today, but now I'm kind of backtracking on that. So
yeah, I'm gonna guess on your scale, your level of concern is at a 1 out of 10.
Yeah. Longer it goes, though, then it just gets annoying.
Yeah.
I think the longer this goes, it's just pretty annoying at that point. So
I'm actually kind of pleasantly not surprised, but I'm glad to see that the general reaction is like, okay, he's asking for it, probably deserves it. It'll get done. Like there's, I'm not seeing overreaction. Like this is Dak territory. It's the opposite of that. Like, oh, holding out. Oh, we'll
initially, we had a few, but I think maybe when people saw him actually at practice and on the field, just not physically doing it, and it was more of a hold in instead of a hold out, then I think it was like, oh, okay, yeah, get it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if he was like still in Cali working out and not even in the zip code, then I think you'd have people like, yeah, okay, come on now, dude. So,
but it will all happen.
Yep. All right, let's do some business of sports this morning, and I got a few that I want to hit up on, but we might as well. I feel like we talked about this one quite a bit now, but it's noteworthy. Back to the NBA rights deal here, Lucas. So now Warner Brothers / TNT is like, hold up here. They matched a part of the deal that the NBA had worked out with NBC, but they matched the Amazon one. If I'm reading it correctly, if I understood it correctly, they're matching the Amazon proposal. No word now. As Andrew Brand has always said, there will be lawyers.
Yes.
It seems like from some people, like the NBA doesn't want TNT involved. They don't want them to match it, sort of thing. So maybe they're trying to figure out a clause to get out of this. I feel like this is developing into kind of a messy situation right now.
It is. I can't remember who was pointing this out. This might have been on the Press Box pod, but like the NBA would rather not have cable involved. That's the thing. I know ESPN, yes, but there is ABC. NBC is obviously NBC. Prime is not cable or broadcast. That's the other place that the NBA wants to be, either streaming or broadcast. They don't want cable. The streaming is growing. Broadcast is free. Cable is pay and generally declining, to put it nicely. So TNT would be mainly that. Now, yes, of course, they have Max. You're like, well, what about Max? Yes, that's not as big as Amazon Prime, of course. It's not as big as Peacock, but NBC's got the third package, essentially. So, yeah, they don't want that. On the other hand, if there's matching rights, then that's kind of how it works to start. So I don't know exactly how this is going to be involved. Look, when I saw this happen and on Prime, when I first heard that it was TNT, I'm like, oh, so NBC's not gonna. Oh, it's Prime. That had not been speculated really. At least not in a mainstream sense. I thought it was always Warner Brothers Discovery or NBC Universal, Comcast. And I thought the presumption was Amazon Prime was like a lock for this. And maybe that's because the NBA really wants to go there, again, because they really want to get involved with a major high quality streaming service. So I can see where the NBA would be like, no, we kind of want them. But if the deal's the deal, that's where, yeah, you can try to find the clause. I don't know exactly how this gets resolved. I mean, as an NBA fan, my first thought was, we get to have our cake and eat it too. We get inside the NBA and round ball rock. Yes, but maybe not. And also, again, that's totally nostalgia plus prior reputation. In 3 years, again, we might be like, okay, NBC's kind of so-so, and Charles Barkley left and Ernie Johnson retired, and it doesn't really mean much of anything. Though the TNT commentators are like the broadcast teams are by and large pretty good.
Because that would be like Kevin Harlan and Brian Anderson and those guys on there.
Right. So I mean, where would the presumption is some of them would go to Prime, some of them would go to NBC. Well, if TNT keeps it, I would imagine a lot will stay. I think there could be some sharing as well, because this would not be a huge TNT package, because again, it gets diluted a little bit more. But that was me from my media obsession. That was one of the first things I thought of. Like, who's NBC going to have to call the games? I mean, of course, there's talent out there. It's not like they're going to bring in someone who's been calling like NAIA games. They're going to have quality. And again, there could be the sharing, presuming TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery gets this. And I don't know. You're right. I was surprised at brand skepticism because like the story ESPN pushed out was like, yep, this is happening. And they haven't pushed back on them. Now maybe ESPN's like, well, we'll just say this. It doesn't mean we got our part of the deal. No one's challenging us, and no one would. But Brandt seems skeptical, but then he's also looking at it from like every legal angle too.
Yeah.
I also the late great Andrew Brandt too. If you looked at his Twitter feed, you'll know what I'm referencing.
Oh no, I did not see it. No.
Someone said the late great Andrew Brandt said he retweeted like late.
Okay.
Like, you dead? I didn't think so.
Yeah.
It's like when we give a memorial award to someone who's still alive. Yeah. So what do you want out of this?
I mean, if Barkley's going to retire and stay retired, and I know that's a big if he stays retired, and I don't know if TNT were to still get into this, if he would come back, but I would say if we knew for sure Barkley was not back, then I don't care if it's on TNT or not. If he's back, yes, I want part of it on TNT so we can have that. You take him off, I don't think that show loses a lot. I love Ernie Johnson. I love Shaq. Barkley, though, takes a lot away from that. He does. And if he's legitimately done, go to NBC. That's all I care about then, too.
Prime versus TNT.
I mean, from a for me to view it easier, it would be TNT.
Yeah. I mean, I still have cable and I have TNT. Well, I also have Prime Video. I have NBC. I mean, like I'm good, and I don't watch a ton of games anyway, so honestly, it won't really matter.
The thing for me is like if it's on Prime, even if like there's a Bucks game or whatever, I'm not going to sign up for Prime for that.
Right.
I'll sign up for Prime for a Packer game.
Because do you have Prime Video?
I actually just paused it for a while because I'm not using it. So
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have it because my wife is like a diehard Amazon Prime person. So I'm pleasantly surprised to find out we had Amazon Prime a few years ago. Like, cool. Or Prime Video a few years ago. Like, cool. Okay. On my own, I wouldn't go out and get it. If I were single, I would not. But then again, I also haven't watched too much of Inside the NBA either, because it's usually later after a weeknight game. Well, by that point, I'm getting my daughter to bed and I'm getting ready for bed. I'm like, oh, well, look at the stuff that's trending the next day. So for me, practically speaking, like it's weird to be like, I want them to keep Inside the NBA, though I've like the most I ever watched it was after the Anthony Edwards, Michael Jordan game. Remember that one where Chuck's like, oh my gosh. That's probably the most I've watched of any Inside the NBA.
I feel like almost Amazon Prime should try to get that TNT crew, the entire crew. That
and
to me would,
because it's Ernie Johnson, who's a Turner lifer.
I know, but I'm saying I think that would help boost signups and stuff.
Could you ponder Inside the NBA without Ernie Johnson?
No. If I were to rank them, I think Barkley's the number one most important. Then it's Ernie.
Kenny's 3.
Kenny's 4. I'm not a Kenny fan. I'm not a Kenny fan.
See,
I need the Shaq and Barkley going at each other dynamic.
It's got I suppose it's a question of legacy versus current dynamic,
right?
Because the legacy is obviously Kenny Smith. I mean, exactly. I remember seeing the crew in person at the 2000 NBA draft because that's when TNT was covering the draft back when they still had it. Side note, they did a better job than ESPN, but then again, you could say that about a lot of the NBA coverage that anyone's better than ESPN, ABC. I don't know why they can't fully figure it out. Anyway, getting sidetracked. At Target Center, you could see them. Actually, my dad and I went to that one. That was the legendary Charlie Walters owns this town draft. Someone was ripping on Sid Hartman from the stands. It was hilarious. But my dad's like, you want to go up and take a closer look at them? I'm like, nah, that's okay. And I kind of wish I would have, because it was like in one of the portals to go into one of the seating areas. But Kenny was there. Ernie Johnson, first name basis. Kenny Smith was there. Ernie Johnson was there. I don't remember who was all on the TNT crew at that point, but I remember like they were famous enough. I knew what the show was and all of that and thought it was high quality back then, or at least the studio crew, maybe we should say, back in 2000, summer of 2000. So if Kenny Smith left, there'd be part of me that thinks part of the fabric of the show is gone, but I think he's become the weakest link.
Kenny,
yeah. I mean, between how Shaq's gotten much better, and early on with Shaq, and again, I didn't watch it enough, but the general thought was, did you just bring Shaq on to have Shaq on?
Mm-hmm.
It was not a good fit, as I recall, to start. He's gotten way better, and
Kenny just feels like he's the fourth wheel. You know, is that third, but it feels like he's, especially when it's like Shaq and Barkley get going, and then Ernie can kind of, be the mediator in that whole thing.
Plus,
and then it's like Kenny's like, it's the awkwardness surrounding. Like, I don't feel like he can get into that back and forth between Shaq and Chuck.
Well, and it's vanilla compared to some sports media personalities, but he's had the most, okay, we'll say it, problematic comments of anyone. He's the one that's usually like, okay, old dude, let's just get with the century already. And again, it's not that bad, but he's the one that usually ends up bringing in the closest thing to any negative headlines. So if you had to cut one, I guess he'd be the one. Shaq's could probably be around for a while, but again, Ernie Johnson's getting kind of older.
Yeah,
he could retire at any point. That's why if Warner Brothers Discovery keeps this, and people, I'm sure a fair number of NBA fans are already jacked that Inside the NBA is going to stay, even though, like as we said, well, legally, maybe there's a way that this doesn't happen. I wouldn't get too excited about how long it's going to be around. Be more excited for the prospect of the TNT style broadcasts of the games themselves, which really matter most. I know Kevin Harlan's actually getting up in age a little bit too. We forget about that, but you got other people in the pipeline, and Turner generally has done a good job with their play-by-play folks. Bringing Brian Anderson on to do games in the Turner world, it's been a great move. They'll figure that out. I trust them to do it. And so I don't know with Amazon Prime, or I really should say Prime Videos to use proper branding. I don't know with NBC. NBC sometimes has a great track record, and sometimes they have Drew Brees. So I don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I know the NBC's broadcasts are really good. In terms of like the setup, the staging, if you will, is really good. I don't know. It's still incomplete.
All right. To the next business of sports here. This one's a little bit more generic and such, but I mean, we might as well bring it back up. Is the whole Jordan Love contract right now, because it is a business of sports, right? So, Monday when Goody went up there for his presser, said that the team was informed on Saturday that Jordan Love would not be practicing without a new contract. However, Jordan was there. He was on the field. I don't think it was any accident, by the way, that Monday when he came out on the field, he was right next to Matt LaFleur. I don't think that was an accident when they both emerged. Kind of a little PR thing. That was smart. That's smart. Both smiling too, right? Got that great picture of them both coming out and smiling. Now, I'm not saying there's any drama or anything going on. I'm just saying I don't think that was an accident. But he was there. He's in meetings and all that. So it gives the impression that they're close, that they're very close to a deal, to where the question is like, maybe where's the hanging point? Where's the sticking point here? How much money is he actually going to get? Is it the guaranteed? Is it, how many years? That sort of thing. And I know, and I understand that there's some, there's some, and Dan Patrick's been one of those too that says, I'd like to see more of a sample size of Jordan Love and all that. I would be one of those too. But the thing is, that's not the NFL world, right? It's a different world. It's a different world. And the guy went out there and he had a great, second half, 10 games, whatever the case may be. And as we've seen more times than not just in the NFL, but in the sports world, if you got kind of a contract expiring and then you ended up having a really good season, you're going to get a raise. and you're going to try to force the hand a little bit, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
You should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that by the standard of what's happening in with similar players in the NFL, that's the proper approach. And it's a risk for the Packers. And I mean that in a good way. Like, that's not like a hot take. No, it's a risk. Younger player, but that's how it works. So you believe in him. He's done some great things on the field. What matters most in a relatively short sample size, he's done it. I
don't think, I know there's been some that said this is Goody playing too hardball now. I don't. I mean, why would he play hardball for the guy that he drafted to replace Aaron Rodgers? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would he try to piss off Jordan Love? I don't buy that. I do buy the fact when Goody said on Monday that, Goody said he's going to get a contract, he's going to get a big contract and all that. But he also mentioned too, he's like, we want to make sure that we build a team around him too. And I think that's as a general manager, that's what you have to figure out. That's probably one of your biggest hurdles that you got to try to figure out is like, okay, we got all this money invested in one player, but then how do you surround that guy with talent so you can still win?
Mm-hmm.
So you can still win. And I don't know exactly what the sticking point is, if it's guaranteed money, if it's the years over there. But I mean, if we use the newest contracts out there for comparison, right? It's Trevor Lawrence, 5 years for $275 million. Joe Burrow, same one. Justin Herbert before that had 5 years, 262 million, 262 and a half. So, I mean, does he get more than those guys in terms of total value of the contracts?
For, again, essentially one really good season.
Mm-hmm.
The others have had either multiple good seasons or they've had a good season and some okay seasons, but enough that you have
more of a sample size.
Right. They got to be relatively close. Maybe I think this is one where everyone wants to get it just right.
Yeah.
As opposed to a legitimate standoff. I don't think. I mean, maybe there's something behind the scenes we don't know, and Love's folks really want to go for the jugular, but I don't think there's a sense of we need to set the next record.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players do that, and I understand why. I don't know that that's the case here. Maybe, but has there ever been a sense?
I think that one of the sticking points, and Goody was actually asked this in the presser, and I think it was Matt Schneidman who asked him this, and don't quote me, but it's an interesting point. It's a good point. With the NBA deals and now with the lawsuit with the NFL, is there a new media deal that's going to be coming with the NFL soon? A gigantic one, right? I think we talked about it last week, like, oh, NBA's getting that. NFL may be like, okay, we know we can get more than that too, right?
And now that's this 18-game thing.
Right, exactly. So
for those who don't know, like that, suddenly there are discussions at highest levels.
Yeah.
So all of that means, well, if you're going to throw in an 18th game, well, you got to redo the contract somehow.
Yep. You got to have a court. They're going to ask for more. Salary caps are going to rise with big time with more media deals and such. So the one part of this is that, and I mentioned this, and even Andrew Brandt said too, shorter term contract is probably what Jordan Love's camp wants. So they can cash in again, right?
Right.
So maybe like a 3-year deal and be like, oh, we're going to jump in on that new money then. Green Bay, a longer contract, better suits them. Is it a little bit of a risk because maybe he doesn't live up to it? Potentially, yeah. But look at the Patrick Mahomes one. I mean, that 10-year thing is just like, what a discount for Kansas City now.
Yeah.
What an insane discount. So maybe they're trying to find that happy point of a year. Biggest thing is always guaranteed money, though, too, right? I mean, because that's the amount of money that the guy is going to get regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be one of the biggest sticking points over there, too. Is Green Bay willing to give him a lot of guaranteed money? Or is it a lot of incentive-based?
And the overall philosophical approach of the Packers. And again, we'll bring it back to Brandt because he said it before. He believes in this, and he was the guy that was kind of running the ship on a lot of this. But they don't like doing dead money deals.
Yeah.
So which actually you would think that might marry pretty well. That if the Packers don't want to, like, the Packers, I mean, maybe they want to tie him up, but they don't want to have a lot of dead money. The Love camp doesn't want a long deal because they want to test free agency down a little further when there's more money around. I would think that makes me think all the more they can find something from this.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I wonder how much that 18 game is that a part of this thing now? Because that's getting more traction.
I don't think so, because this feels like this would have kind of gotten going a little earlier than this announcement. I mean, maybe there was enough behind the scenes, possibly so. I don't think so. I think this was more a matter of Love coming in and saying, yeah, I want to redo this right now, and kind of forcing the hand a little bit. There's a little bit of hey, come on, guys, I'm going to do this at a higher, playing the drama thing in a limited way.
And I honestly feel like the impression I get, again, I don't have any inside scoops on this, but I get the impression, okay, the fact that he's there, he's involved in team meetings, he's on the field, I feel like he wants to be there. He wants to be practicing. I also understand he understands the situation that he's got to be more of a leader this year.
Mm-hmm.
And considering he doesn't have the biggest track record of, on-field success, all that sample size that we talked about, you got to balance that too. Like, hey, I don't want to be the guy that's away from the team in training camp and cause that. I still want to be involved, but at the same time, it's a business and I got to get something to protect me in case I do get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's that balancing act, sort of thing.
He doesn't seem to have, I mean, to my observations, he's not given the impression of more diva quarterback. He seems to be more, we'll get this done. We'll figure this out. His personality seems to be that way, best as we can tell. Like, I keep thinking of like the car, helping out the woman with the car.
Well, and I think what helped,
one example.
Yeah. Well, that's what got my wife all a fan about him. So,
right.
But I also think what's the biggest probably indicator here is I think every single teammate that has come out and said, yeah, the guy deserves it.
Yeah.
You don't have those guys say it. It's not Favre. Remember when Favre with Javon Walker? Guy he's got to get here. You got a contract on your contract. It's not that. Yeah. You got these guys saying, no, yeah, he like Keyshawn Nixon after the Kenny Clark one was signed. Keyshawn's tweet out saying now 10. So I mean, you got guys that on that roster like, yeah, that guy deserves it.
He's likable. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. He's likable. So this is going to get done. It's trying to get the right exact thing. That's not the easiest thing to do. They're going to get there. Mm-hmm. I have confidence that it's going to happen. Will it be resolved 1 week from today?
I hope so.
I think it will.
Because the longer it does go, then I'll use this. I'm not really like worried. I'm just annoyed at that point.
Yeah, I'd be a little concerned because you're getting a fair ways into training camp with, I mean, again, I know he's kind of there, but okay, now we're starting to inhibit a bit of team preparation. So I think, I know maybe the Packers were thinking that, like, yeah, so that's our leverage over you. I mean, there's a lot of leverage things here. I think by a week from today, we're not talking about it.
No. I think the biggest thing I'm curious to see is the length of it. That, to me, is going to be the curious one.
Will it be over under 3.5 years?
I'll say over, but 4.
Yeah, and again, there's not going to be one of those like 6-year deal, but like the last 2 years are.
Yeah, I almost feel like Green Bay wants the 5. Maybe Love's camp wants a 3. Meet in the middle and do a 4.
Yeah,
with maybe I don't know if they can do like the opt out sort of thing. They can't do it. You know what I mean,
right?
Yeah.
So now is this 4 years after this year?
That's the tricky part.
So essentially, it's a 5-year.
Yeah. And maybe that's where it's at right now, too, with that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like Green Bay saying, yeah, we'll do a 3-year extension. Well, then it's actually 4. And then Jordan's camp's like, hey, no.
Yeah.
No. Legit out of 3 sort of thing.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting one to see. I'm guessing 4. I'll take the over on it because these contracts usually aren't that short. I will be surprised if it's like a 2 or 3-year deal. I think they're going to lock him up maybe a little longer than he wants, but it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing too, is like, I mean, we've seen how many times, and I know it's a lot is dependent on good faith, but we've seen guys redo contracts and get bigger deals with years left too.
Mhm.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
So
I think it works out.
yep. Don't freak out, Packers fans. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up after these quick words. Less than a week away from the MLB trading deadline, and still kind of quiet, although now you're starting to get all the blogs and posts and so this team should do that, and they should be aggressive and do this, that, blah, 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 blah. I got a feeling, though, we're going to start to pick up by the weekend, don't you think? More of those rumors and kind of rumblings out there because of so many teams. So, like, this is a big week for some of these teams to decide what they're going to do. Interesting that, the Cubs earlier this week said, they're going to, not be buyers. They're going to kind of focus on 2025 at this point in time, even though they're just a few games out of the wild card race. But they probably also view that, okay, are we legit contenders at that point? And they probably answer no.
Mm-hmm.
No. Even though anything could happen once you get in the postseason. I understand that. But can they go out there and beat the Phillies or the Dodgers or heck, even the Brewers now in a playoff series? That's probably the big question.
It is.
So,
oh, by the way,
what
do you think of the Packers alternate?
Oh, that's
confirmed.
right.
I saw Paul. Actually, Paul
is it confirmed?
Well, okay, it's not confirmed, but it's in the Madden 25 game.
See, okay,
which
you said that, but they also did a gold one in a Madden game, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. But I see UniWatch literally just posted it.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Lucas actually had the scoop back in April,
yep.
But now we have the screen caps. So white helmet, white face mask. Let's presume that because if it's in Madden, probably yes. What do you think of icy white coming to Lambeau?
I like it. Again, I don't know if I would use the Madden one because they did have a gold alternate in a game, and that didn't work. But it seems like this is trending a little bit more. I like all the white besides the helmet. I feel like you don't mess with the yellow helmet. Don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an all white guy.
Might be possibly doing a white helmet.
Oof.
Again, icy white.
I'm all white. I like white. I wish I could wear white, but I get stains all over, so it doesn't work out for me.
Yeah.
The helmet, though, I don't know if you mess with the helmet.
Might be happening.
It might be.
Brace yourself.
Which, I mean,
well, they've had the brown helmets. So it's not like they've had nothing but this one helmet forever, and this is the first change just to jump on the Stormtrooper trend. It's not that. But
that's a good point with the brown. I mean, once in a while, I guess that's okay. But yeah, once in a while, it's all about money. Now the thing is, I don't know how many fans are going to buy white helmets.
That's the thing, though. I mean, how much? This seems like more of a player thing than because most fans aren't going to buy. I mean, some do.
Yeah,
but it's not as much as like the jerseys, which are
total
merch dumps.
Yeah, if they were going to redo a little bit on a jersey, then it's completely different. But yeah. I don't know. Like, I guess for one game, it's okay. But
still, it doesn't look like the Packers, though.
It doesn't. But that's because they've never done any changes.
Well, and also they like the screen caps here show them playing the Lions wearing their blacks, which once again, how many times are we going to have an all-white alternate versus an all-black alternate? And you're not going to, it's getting perilously close to NBA city who's playing territory. Because if that first blush, I'm like, so is that the University of Ohio playing Buffalo? Oh, no. And the University of Buffalo, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the Lions and the Packers. I would have to be educated on that if it wasn't pointed out to me. Looking at the screen caps, I could be confused.
I'm already bracing for all white in another snow globe game.
Yeah.
I feel like the NFL would force the Packers, like, no, you're going to change it. Change it for this game. Sorry.
I mean, again, the NFL gets their history too. I know they're opening this up, but on the other hand, there is something to be said for that too.
Yeah. Just wear yellow gloves, Packer receivers, if that happens. Wear yellow gloves so Jordan can see you.
We also have to worry about winning the game too,
because
you can look great. You lose, doesn't matter then.
Linemen, offensive linemen, wear white. Wear white gloves so they can't see you holding.
You guys, it's okay.
Yeah.
Other ones, no.
So, I saw that kind of trend. It seems like that's inevitable now at this point in time. So, but
totally.
What am I? I'm not going to complain about it because I can't really do anything about it. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's for the kids. We'll just say that. It's for the kids.
Yeah, I guess so. Given I haven't heard too much, by the way, about like the younger generation not being as into the NFL. I know there were a lot of stats about that up until like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's gone quiet.
Mm-hmm.
When either way, I don't really know, but I mean, you do want to keep up with it. You want to keep the next generation that's proper business. Get the next generation involved, and I guess if that means white helmets, not that the NFL is going to go out of business anytime soon, but I guess. Hey, the Olympics are underway.
Officially?
Yes. Argentina, Morocco, USA Network, right now.
Okay. Like they're doing the walks?
No, they're playing. We have the Olympics are happening as we speak. I'm not being physical. No, they start. This always happens like a day or two before the opening ceremony, the preliminaries for like a sport that needs a lot of like round robin or something. So yes, it is underway as of right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I suppose maybe they haven't formally started, but I saw Paul Papps just tweeted that out. Like live right now, USA Network. So there you go.
All right.
Go Olympics.
Steve from Eau Claire says, I never cared for the all-white Packers unis, but there's something about the white helmet that makes that uniform look better.
Maybe you do need that. Like for certain teams, like all white, no. For others, all white, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got Chris with a quick message on Facebook saying, I actually really like the all whites, just not in every game sort of thing. So
also, I love how this reinforces the whole, as a longtime uniform geek, we care about this a lot more than anyone ever imagined. I kind of love that we got takes on white helmets, but it's a thing. Like we do care. Well, because it's the closest thing that we can connect to a lot of this. It's like rooting for laundry, like the Seinfeld line. It's kind of like with college football and college basketball right now. You kind of are rooting for the laundry because the teams change over so much.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then they got all their alternates there. So how much laundry are you really rooting for?
Right. So, yeah, I don't think we'll all white or all black.
Okay, I will take Packers all white over anything black.
Really?
190% of the time. Oh, Packers do not go black. Come on. I get the white, black. No.
Okay.
Thankfully, I'm not a Packers fan, so it doesn't really matter. But then you're just trendy at that point. And I know the whole all white thing is very, very trendy, but it kind of matches with what they've got, and you can do the whole north thing, snow, blah blah blah. I suppose you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But all black, they've never done that before. It's not in their color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Can't say that one text, Dave, but appreciate the text over there. So yeah, I can't use that language. So
was he favorable? Is it about the helmet?
Yeah, he just said green and gold only. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, cool. So we got the sentiment delivered. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Tell you what, we got to take a quick break, and then we'll get you some picks and predicts, and then back to baseball talk.
Cool.
How about that? So, all right, we'll do that. We'll be back in just a few minutes here. Can the Twinnies take down the Phillies in just a few hours? Can the Brewers win another game against the Cubbies? We'll make those picks and more after this quick break. Time for some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Wednesday nights, trivia nights. Show off your trivia skills over at the Elbow Room while enjoying some cool beverages, or maybe you're looking for somewhere to catch some of the day games that we got going on today. Stop on over at the Elbow Room right next to the Banbury Place. Do have a few options for some day games today. If you are maybe at home, or maybe you can tune in or something like that. But you got Minnesota taking on the Phillies at 12:10. Then the Brewers taking on the Cubbies at 1:20. You can listen to that game right here, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So let's make some baseball picks here. Let's start off with Cardinals at Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens pitched to the ninth last night, but also suffered 2-1 loss.
Gosh, telling you, overrated.
Left them in too long.
Jeez, what a mistake. I'm gonna say the Cards get this one too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll go with the Cardinals. I hate to say it, but Philadelphia, Minnesota, Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies.
I'm gonna go. I don't like where the Twins are at with their relief core for today. I'll say the Phils win this one.
All right. We'll save that one here in just a skosh. Let's do the Subway Series. Mets at the Yanks.
Let's see.
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole's kind of coming around, but I'll say the Yankees do get this one.
I'm going to go with
I know it's a little crisis mode for the Yankees still, but yeah. They'll win.
I'll go with the Yankees too. How about Tampa Bay at Toronto?
Rays.
I'm going to go Toronto. How about Arizona, Kansas City?
I'll go Royals with cheese.
I'm going to go Royals too, and they lost the first two, didn't they? I think, yeah. Come on, get it together, Kansas City, for crying out loud.
Hey, by the way, today is George Brett going berserk anniversary day.
Nice.
The Pine Tar incident was this date 41 years ago.
Bobby Witt Jr., if you got, you want to rehash that one,
Out there, big wad in his cheek. That was classic.
Giants, Dodgers, Robbie Ray, Tyler Glasnow.
Dodgers.
I'll go Dodgers too. And then we've got Cubbies, Brewers.
Yes. I think the Brewers win it. I know we'll see what the pitching situation is, but I think the Brewers get this.
I'm going to go Cubbies, Justin Steele on the mound. Brewers, a little bit sluggish after this All-Star break now offensively. So, I mean, these two games, they scored 2 runs. I'm going to go Cubs today.
Hey, Cubs are no longer in last place.
That's true.
By 1/1000%. 476 to 475 were the Reds. See, we were tempting ourselves with that. Now they're in 4th place. Here we go.
This is the last game for Brewers Cubs this year.
I know, that kind of sucks. Like, I wish there'd be more.
Yeah,
but no.
This is it.
But the Brewers still have a 5-game lead over the Cards. Like, I was getting a little concerned, but they held their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Even as a Twins fan, as much as I like the Brewers, I'm sorry, I'm always Twins over Brewers because, I mean, you can only go one way on that. I will be okay with the Brewers taking those 2 games if, and only if, it does nothing for the Twins' playoff positioning. Like, if it's one of those where those 2 games would not have made a difference, if that helps the Brewers get something else, cool. I'm okay with that. Now, if it costs them like the playoffs or a division title or something, or forces them to play the Yankees in the first round, then, okay. I know there are plenty of other games that could have won, but still.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how they go.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Packers yearbook is out.
I did see that.
Already bought it.
We're all right. Nice.
For real.
I know. What was it last year before? You were struggling to find it.
I could not find them. And then there was that one year, like, was waiting forever and finally decided to buy it. And like a few days later, you're like, hey, it's in the stores.
Yep.
Because it costs a lot more to ship it. But
I'm
not going to be constantly checking the checkout aisles for like a whole month.
Did you dive into it? I know Jordan Love's on the cover. So.
I see that. I've not looked much more, but no looking back is the cover of this one.
All right.
They're wearing yellow helmets, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Not upsetting anybody. So.
Oh gosh, if they wear all white this year and then they put that on the cover of next year's yearbook, ooh,
Nice. Yeah.
Oof, I don't know.
Yeah. What else do we got going on here? So we talked a little college football. Actually, a lot of people chiming in on the college football one there too. So, what else do we got here? Training camp. All 32 teams now. Training camp underway. So now it's football season, baby. Now it's football season. Can you feel it?
Kind of.
Can you feel it? So,
sort of.
Cool thing that your Vikings are doing under a sad situation. With the young man who passed away,
Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson. That nobody's going to use the locker this year. Nobody's going to wear his number this year. Going to be wearing pins and patches for him. So that's a good thing that the Vikings are doing in a tough situation. So,
gosh, that team has had a fair amount of, somewhat historically, between Sperano passing away 6 years ago. Of course, Corey Stringer. This is insightful, at least to me, of the impact that a new player who's not like the biggest guy, like number one draft pick overall, can still have on a team. I wondered about that when I found out about it. I'm like, gosh, he's pretty new, 4th round draft pick. Like, how ingrained in the team really could he have been in such a short amount of time? A lot, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Which that gives a bit of a peek inside the chemistry of a locker room. I have to presume so. I mean, unless it's like a organizational standard thing, which if that's the case, and if it's only that, that's also still good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no like, wow, you're doing the wrong. This is all right thing approach. But I also was reading that, and I can't remember where this was. Might have been ESPN. The approach to other players, like talking to them, it's kind of the mental health thing. Like, how are you going to handle this? Is way more solid now than it ever was with that organization, probably with all the others. Like, I can't remember which player exactly it was, but there was another player, and maybe it was another team, that someone had passed away early in the season, and that player just could not. Oh no, it was one of the Viking cornerbacks. Remember, there was the other guy was a Gladney that died, and then the other one after he'd been released. Or it was something like, you remember, it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Viking cornerback. And the other guy that knew him, and I'm blanking on some of it, so I'm trying to make it quick here. Like, he couldn't fully recover. He was shaken by it.
Mm-hmm.
This happens more viscerally than we fans can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you're seeing here.
You got a tackle locked up for your Vikings. Darrisaw agrees to a 4-year, $113 million deal yesterday.
Big one, but I mean, given the history of Vikings and talk about blind spots, we were saying Badger quarterbacks, Vikings offensive line, which has stabilized the past few years. It's a bit of an outdated criticism,
mm-hmm.
but that's a guy you need to keep. He's not perfect, but he's pretty good. Mm-hmm. So that I'm glad they kept Darrisaw for a while.
Kyle Shanahan revealed that he offered Bill Belichick anything he wanted to do on the 49ers staff, being short of being head coach, I'm assuming. But Shanahan told the Athletic that I threw it out to him. He loves football so much that you never know what I can't believe he's not a head coach for the team right now. I know what I would do if I was an owner, so that shocks me. And the last thing you want to do is insult someone like Bill Belichick. But I know he just loves ball in its simplest form, so I threw it out to him. Whatever he wanted to do, including defensive coordinator, I was like, would you be interested? And he was very nice and appreciative, and he politely turned me down. I can already see it. Let's say Bill said, yes, head coach of the defense, whatever, okay?
Mm-hmm.
49ers win a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan ain't getting any credit.
God.
Right? I mean, that would be the narrative.
It was Belichick.
Ooh,
then we could do the Brady Belichick thing. Another chapter.
Shanahan didn't win that. He needed Bill Belichick to win him a Super Bowl.
Gosh.
You know that narrative will be out there.
Yes, it would. But it's probably just as well, because everything would be Belichick oriented. That would be the hype would way outweigh the actual impact on the team.
Yeah,
it's probably just as well. And I wonder if Belichick realized that to a certain degree. Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, I don't know if distraction is the right word, but he would garner a lot of attention.
Yes.
Bill Belichick on the sidelines.
Oh
there.
gosh, there'd be, and not quite.
And
to
I
the
almost
point of,
feel like it would have to be a head coach like a Shanahan to embrace that
yes, you have well, and
be okay with it.
fair to him to being like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I just want to win.
But boy, we would have like potential, Belichick. We wouldn't have like a Belichick cam, but well, there'd be reaction shots a lot.
Oh yeah. Yep. So, do you think he coaches next year?
No,
I don't know.
I think he's done.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hesitant on the Giants situation right now. Just saying. Since he loves the Giants so much.
I know, and
if that becomes open,
it's kind of a prove it year, not entirely, but if they have a bad one,
yeah,
maybe. But I will say no.
And I know everybody's still focused on the Cowboys too, so we'll see. But all right, that's gonna do it for us. DP and a Dan starting next. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. We'll be back at tomorrow morning, just past 6. Talk to you then.